The frost came on a Tuesday night in late April. You had checked the forecast. It said 40 degrees. It dropped to 28. You woke up Wednesday morning, walked to the garden, and found them. The tomato seedlings you had started indoors 8 weeks ago. The ones you had hardened off so carefully. The ones you transplanted just 4 days earlier because the soil temperature was finally right. Black, wilted, gone. Every single one. You stood there for a long time. Longer than you expected. Then you went inside, poured coffee, sat at the table, and started calculating when you could replant. Not next year. This week. You were already looking at what was still available at the nursery, what you could start from seed with the remaining growing season, what the backup plan was. By Thursday afternoon, new seedlings were in the ground. Anyone watching from outside would have called that moving on quickly. But you know it was not that. You felt the loss, you felt it in your body, but you also knew, without anyone teaching you, that the loss was not the end. It was a stage, and the next stage was already beginning. People who garden handle loss differently from people who do not. Not better in the sense of feeling less, better in the sense of being able to absorb it, sit with it, and keep going without being destroyed by it. And the reason has nothing to do with personality. It has everything to do with what the garden teaches your nervous system through years of repetition. Today, you're going to learn why people who garden handle loss better than everyone else. And the science behind it explains not just why you replant after a frost, but why gardeners carry a form of grief resilience that most people spend years in therapy trying to build. The first mechanism is the most fundamental, and it is something no self-help book can replicate. The garden teaches loss as cyclical, not catastrophic. Most people in the modern world experience loss as a singular event. The relationship ended, the job was lost, the person died. Each loss is framed as a break in the expected trajectory. Something was supposed to continue and it stopped. The brain processes this as a violation of expectations, and the emotional response is proportional to the gap between what was expected and what happened. Gardeners experience loss differently because the garden presents loss as a recurring, predictable stage in a larger cycle. Seeds fail to germinate, seedlings die from transplant shock, pests destroy a crop, frost kills in April, drought stresses in July, heat wilts in August, disease spreads in September. Every season contains multiple losses, and every loss is followed by the same thing. The soil remains, the beds remain, the seeds remain, and the cycle begins again. After years of this repetition, the gardener's nervous system recalibrates. Loss is no longer coded as catastrophic. It is coded as seasonal, something that happens, that hurts, that passes, and that precedes renewal. This is not a philosophical position. It is a neurological adaptation. The brain literally learns, through hundreds of direct experiences, that loss and continuation coexist, and once that learning is embedded, it transfers. The gardener who loses a crop in August processes the loss of a job in October with the same underlying neural framework. This hurts, this is real, and this is not the end. The second mechanism explains why gardeners recover faster, and it operates through the hands. After a loss, most people enter a period of helplessness. There's nothing they can do. The thing is gone. The job is lost. The person is not coming back. And in that helplessness, the brain enters a state that psychologists call learned helplessness, a condition where the perceived inability to affect outcomes leads to passivity, withdrawal, and deepening depression. The garden does not allow learned helplessness. After the frost kills the tomatoes, there is immediately something to do. Clear the dead plants, amend the soil, start new seeds, transplant replacements. The loss creates a task list, and the task list engages the effort-driven reward circuit documented by Dr. Kelly Lambert at the University of Richmond. Your hands are busy, your body is producing visible results. The brain is receiving dopamine and serotonin in response to effort with tangible outcomes. You are not helpless, you are rebuilding. And the act of rebuilding, physically, with your hands, in the same soil where the loss occurred, is one of the most powerful antidotes to grief paralysis that exists. You do not process the loss by thinking about it, you process it by composting it. Literally, the dead plants go into the compost bin, they decompose, they become soil. The soil feeds the next planting. The thing that died becomes the foundation for the thing that lives next. This is not a metaphor you chose. It is a process you perform, and your brain registers it at a level deeper than language. The third mechanism is about attachment, and it explains something that gardeners understand intuitively but rarely articulate. Gardeners form bonds with living things that they know will die. Every annual plant is temporary by nature. You plant it knowing it will not survive winter. You tend it knowing its lifespan is measured in months, not years. And you do this willingly, repeatedly, with full awareness that the ending is built into the beginning. This is radically different from how most people form attachments. Most human bonds are formed with an implicit assumption of permanence. The relationship will last, the friendship will endure, the person will be here. When that assumption breaks, the grief is compounded by betrayal of expectation. I was not supposed to lose this. The gardener's bonds are formed with a different implicit contract. I will care for this, knowing it will end, and I choose to care anyway. This does not mean the loss hurts less. It means the loss does not carry the additional weight of violated expectations. The ending was not a surprise. It was a season. Research on anticipatory grief, conducted at multiple institutions, including the University of Louisville, has shown that people who are prepared for a loss, who have time to process its inevitability, recover faster and more completely than those who experience a sudden loss. Every gardener, every season, practices anticipatory acceptance. The frost will come, the annuals will die, the perennials will go dormant. And next spring, we start again. This is grief rehearsal at a scale that no therapeutic exercise can match because it is lived, not imagined. The fourth mechanism connects everything to the soil itself. When a plant dies and you clear it from the bed, when you kneel in the dirt to pull the roots, when you turn the soil to prepare for the next planting, you are in physical contact with earth that contains Mycobacterium vaccae. Dr. Christopher Lowry at the University of Colorado identified this soil bacteria as a potent activator of serotonin pathways in the brain. Serotonin regulates not just mood, but emotional resilience, the ability to absorb a negative event without being destabilized by it. The timing is remarkable. The exact moment when you're processing a loss, the moment when your hands are in the dirt clearing away what died, is also the moment when your brain is receiving a direct serotonin boost from the soil bacteria. The garden does not just teach you about loss philosophically. It chemically supports you through the process of grieving. No therapist can prescribe soil bacteria. No pharmacy stocks Mycobacterium vaccae. The garden delivers it automatically, precisely when you need it most, in the aftermath of what did not survive. So here is what is actually different about gardeners and loss. It is not that you feel less. You feel the same grief as anyone. The frost that kills 5 months of work hurts. The disease that takes the plant you grew from your grandmother's seeds hurts. The season that simply did not produce, despite everything you did, that hurts in its own quiet way. But the hurt moves through you differently. It arrives, it is felt, and it exits. Because your nervous system has been trained through years of seasonal repetition to code loss as temporary. Because your hands have something to do in the immediate aftermath, preventing the paralysis of helplessness. Because your attachment model already includes an ending, removing the shock of violated expectations. And because the soil itself, the literal dirt you kneel in while clearing the dead, delivers a chemical that supports your brain's ability to process what happened. You did not read a book about resilience. You did not attend a workshop. You composted it season after season, year after year. And without knowing what you were doing, you built the most robust grief processing system that science has identified. It is in your hands. It is in your soil. It is in the empty bed that is already waiting for the next seed. If this is the first time you are here and you recognized yourself in what you just heard, subscribe. This channel was made for people like us. And tell me in the comments, what is the hardest loss your garden has taught you to carry? Not the plant itself, but what it taught you about letting go and starting again. I want to hear.